Hi, I'm Lorne Epstein. Welcome back to another episode of the Lorne Epstein Show here on 96.7 FM, Arlington, Virginia. And I've got a very, very, very special guest with me this afternoon. As you know, we're broadcasting from Unleash here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And with me, I have Marc Coleman. Marc is the CEO of the company that produces the Unleash conference. Welcome to the show, Marc.
Thanks for having me.
So what got you started on creating these kinds of conferences?
It was funny when I was talking with one of the customers here yesterday and probably had the same experience. I think having a lot of bad managers and working for a lot of bad companies. My career probably started in Asia Pacific. I used to work in sports events and stuff like that. So you see some of this goings on of FIFA in the news over the last few years.
Sure.
I worked through those kind of companies, and often talked about them out loud, but no one really believed me at the time, and it's all evidenced in the news today. So I think I had a lot of bad managers. I had a few good managers, but the client I talked to yesterday said he had to go through 10 managers in 10 years to get to a good manager. And so his current manager, she's meant to be brilliant. She's inspired him, given him autonomy. He feels empowered. He does a good job. He's successful. So I think at the very crux of it, that's what probably got me into the industry.
Yeah.
So a mixture of bad experienced managers, events, and I think that's probably the main reason.
Cool. And so this conference is different than other conferences.
Yeah.
And I was just sharing with you earlier about what my experience has been. So,
okay.
I'll be 53 this week, and
Happy birthday.
I've been working since I was 15, and most of my experiences working are not just bad managers, but kind of the top-down command control, very, oppressive. Now, the place I work at now is awesome. We're owned by Inupiats. It's a great company. I've loved a lot of the places I've worked at. I loved a lot of the managers I've worked for.
Yeah.
But I know that in the culture there is things that don't work.
Yeah.
And one of the keynotes Gary was talking about was the idea of that isn't working. That model doesn't work for business.
Yes, it doesn't.
And so let's talk about your feelings about that and what you see.
Well, it's not what I saw. It's again coming from that. But when I say I had bad managers, I had managers that would do performance reviews, but weren't trained on how to do performance reviews. So when I started out as a blogger into the HR leadership industry, when I suppose blogging was a bit fashionable, it was felt a bit more fashionable now, back then. And I guess when you get graded, out of 5, 1 out of 5, and you feel like you've done a great job, and the manager isn't really getting it across, then it turns into a moment of conflict, or it's had the opposite of the intended result.
Right.
Yeah, and like my children now, the school they go to, it's inquiry-based learning and stuff like that. So we sit down with the teachers, I think every term, and we agree on the children's goals, and we give them feedback on the goals for the previous term, if they achieved them or not, and it's very inspiring the way it's done. And then you go into the workplace and you've suddenly got adults behaving like children. I see the kids getting, going forward at a much quicker pace than we do in the workplace, and it's just simple stuff. It's this kind of stuff when you just look around at the world that we live in and how people are working. Gary talks about the bureaucracy. I think the performance review is the best one. When I sat down with the CEO of Accenture, when we talked to Microsoft years ago about this, they were spending phenomenal amounts of money. I think it was costing Accenture 10 million per 10,000 employees to do performance reviews.
Wow.
So if you do the math, per year, I think their workforce is 270,000. The French CEO canned them all. You got rid of them all. What a cost saving. Look at all that bureaucracy. look at all that bureaucracy that's gone, And
Right.
so they're investing in new tools, new feedback, and you see them on the show, you see them on the floor here at the show. And that third wave, again, so my journey in getting into this industry, it's kind of, you get inspired year on year. So your motivations change. But when you see some of the technology out there, it's absolutely fantastic, but it's only a halfway house. The bigger problems, I think, are how people lead and manage and stuff like that, you know. It's the human element. I was talking to Matthew Jeffrey from Fiskars there not so long ago, and he was actually saying the technology piece has become the easy part. It's the human element, and you see it over here in America. One of the big conversations here over the last 2 days is Americans working so hard for the American dream, having to put in a 100-hour week, you know, and being very unhappy. The numbers are for the other side, by the way. It's 54% of people are unhappy in work, no matter what survey you're looking at. So these are really, really big issues that, you know, we need to deal with. And it's largely down to bureaucracy and not really caring about our people and the well-being of our people. And that's the crux of HR. That's their bloody job.
Right. Right. We should be leading the challenge to leading the transformation.
Yeah, and I think it's getting back to its roots. You know, it's so much is dumped on HR. It's suddenly like, you know, the big data, people analytics, and that's for the last 10 years has gone at a snail's pace. But HR are not data scientists, you know, and they're kind of almost reliant on the vendors to kind of give them a one-size-fits-all. You know, they don't know how to come at it, and I don't know your experience, but my experience is the best HR people often come from outside of the HR education sphere. They're very hands-on. They're you know, loved by the people, and so these are, you know, these are the things that we're up against in terms of bureaucracy. That's just one from Gary, but Mo's session, Mo Gaddat's session from Google X this morning was just amazing. Did you attend that?
No, I was here.
Yeah,
but what did he say?
Well, it's just all about happiness, and how, you know, how so many people out there are unhappy in their lives and their work and stuff like that, and they don't have purpose and meaning. They're not in the right careers and stuff like that. And I know this. We had Arianna Huffington as our keynote in Amsterdam last year, and I know 10 people that went back to their jobs and resigned straight away.
Really?
Now, yeah, my client customers are they probably don't want to hear that, but they did. Yeah, they went back, and that's just 10 I know. I can't know how many out of the thousands, but you know, they were exhausted. They hated their jobs, you know, and she gave them a little bit of inspiration to go away and change their lives and make that, because happiness is a choice, and that's the message from Mo this morning. So,
and what's your vision for the world? I mean, this is obviously you're making a huge impact. There's a couple of thousand people here, right, at the show?
There is, but you know, it's not enough to impact the world, and I think.
But they run a lot of organizations. They
do.
Probably touch tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands.
Not just tens of thousands. We quantified it a few years ago that I think, just from the Amsterdam show, that they would have influence over 60 million people.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you've got somebody from, let's say, Siemens or something like that in Germany, if you've got the head of HR, then that person has that influence over 400,000 employees.
Plus their families.
Exactly.
Yeah, because jobs have an impact on the family.
Exactly, yeah. That's what it's all about. It's the relationships around you, whether it's, you need to have those relationships in your family and friends, of course, to be happy in work as well.
I know if I have a great job, my wife is happy.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's making good money, if it's not a good job, my wife's not happy.
Yeah.
And as a husband, you know, having a happy wife is really my only existence.
And a happy, it goes vice versa.
Yeah.
And it is that important, you know. I mean, we're part of the work revolution. 95% of Americans are, MIT have published this recently and said 95% of Americans do not believe that their jobs are going to be automated in the next 5 years, you know. We need to work. We need to be entertained. I know we're in Las Vegas, probably the easiest thing to say, but as humans, we need to keep busy, or we get, you know, we're radical. You know, it's not good. And we talked about this with, what's his name? Professor down in Silicon Valley. We were talking about a Star Trek world versus, you know, this
this world.
You know, it's an Armageddon world or a Star Trek world. We take a choice on that. It's well, you know, a Mad Max. We call it Mad Max, but Vivek Vodbod. Sorry, couldn't get it straight away. So the choice is ours, you know. But the joblessness that's out there for the next 10 years. I live in Hungary. It's all call centers. They're slave centers. They're all repetitive jobs. IBM's Watson, Amazon, all these guys are creating software that's going to kill all those jobs.
Right.
So the government's not doing anything. There is cool stuff going on in the world. I talked to the CHRO, Christian Elek of Deutsche Telekom last month, and they are doing a pilot for 5,000 of their employees where they know their jobs will not exist in 5 years' time. They're reskilling them for new jobs.
Wow.
Yeah.
What jobs?
I think it's engineering and tech, but it's the goodness of their hearts. Do you know what I mean? It's not, most companies are not doing this kind of stuff.
And so that's a great question. So most companies aren't doing what we in this conversation might consider the support that's going to support this revolution.
Sure.
Right? Why not?
Why not? Well, so this is for me. There's all that negativity out there. I think we can put a positive spin on it. We have the most powerful network in front of us. We're coming at it a bit backwards to the way normal companies are designed around this. We're not motivated to become the richest people in the graveyard, but we do want to create something very special and very big via our shows. You can't beat the face-to-face. It's still the best experience you have. But if we really want to change the world, and it's like my conversation with Mo this morning, he started his sabbatical with Google X last year, and he said 6 months he was going to get 10 million people onto his Solve for Happy campaign, and now his new target is 1 billion. Can you imagine getting 1 billion into this for, I think his target is 5 years. We will have a very different world if you've got that kind of, that statistic.
Yeah.
So it's partnerships through people like Mo, and we want to open source it. I get worried when you say things like movement and stuff like that, but we're not interested in going out there and dividing and conquering different countries and stuff like that. I believe we can bring something special to America. It's our second year here, but it's a bridge between Europe and the United States that's never been done before. And I think that's very exciting in terms of ideas, inspiration, trade, all of these different things. And we have a history of this as well. So we want to kind of really build on that. And really part of our business is really trying to figure out where the events that we have, 3 of them at the moment, and I don't really want to do many more. I don't want to do any more. 359 days of the year, we're dead. That's the way I've looked at it, yeah? So when we talk about building community, it's like we have 6 days, or 2, you're at this event, it's 2 days of inspiration, networking, partying, all this kind of stuff. Even the partying's terrible because you'll forget what you learned the day before. So take good notes. I think it's really trying to activate that 359 days of the year and building a real community out there, yeah, where they feel confident, they can share ideas based on your interests, whatever your interests are. Today you might be interested in learning, or tomorrow you're interested in payroll or leadership or whatever aspect of work that is. Through the Unleash network, yeah, it's literally that's been our motto for 7 years: unleash your people.
Yeah.
Because I feel it's been a world in chains in many respects, to go back to Gary's conversation about bureaucracy, and it's work in chains. So that's why we talk about unleash.
He was saying the derivation of the history of the word bureaucracy is a French word.
That's right.
Basically meaning like title.
Yeah.
Like what your title was really how you functioned. And there was a time when you needed to have that kind of command control structure, because you did need to have someone sucking up all the data and knowing the bigger picture. But now, because of technology, you don't really need that. And organizations can be really flat. And Gary's talking about like 1 to 500.
Yeah.
That flat. And that's exciting to me. I mean, I love seeing people be passionate and not. I've been a leader, right? Some people will say a boss, and my preference is to not have to manage my people. Like I want to collaborate with them. I want to give them what I know so they can do their jobs better, and get them what they need so they can do their jobs better.
Yeah.
But I don't like to have to come after people, or I don't. think people like to do that.
And there's a bit of discovery to that, yeah. And for me as well, I've been a good and a bad leader throughout my career, you know. And I think you're always going to be in different situations, and that's the great thing about what we do. Yeah. You know, if you put Google on stage, it can be a nice story, but you don't have to go away and go back to your company and say, "Hey guys, we have to copy what Google is doing." And that's what the industry's been doing. They've been benchmarking themselves into oblivion, right. Yeah, where everything feels and looks the same. So, yeah, and I think being a leader, for me especially, it's been that journey where you do question that the autonomy that you give people sometimes, or you think there's telepathy there that, you know, you're expecting them to do a job sometimes, and they need a lot more guidance. So it doesn't work every way. No. You see Elon Musk with the machines recently. He thought, you know, they could produce the Model 3 faster without human beings. He goes, hey, humans are actually necessary, evil. And I thought the best one was from Steve Jobs, because he was notorious for throwing bricks at employees or tantrums and all sorts, you know. I thought his one was very interesting. Many years ago, he thought it was as simple as hiring the most talented people out there and just wrapping them around your vision, and they will just get the job done. Leave them alone, yeah. And I guess that's been part of the Apple story success. But he's not. He's like Michael O'Leary in Ireland or in Europe, the Ryanair low fares. Right. He's notoriously like the worst manager out there, but he drives a very successful business. You know.
Well, they tell good stories, and that's another thing. I mean, we're talking about leadership, and I know that folks listening, probably a lot of them lead at someplace, and one of the skills that I'm trying to get better at is telling the story. Mm-hmm. So I'm very clear on what needs to get done. Like, I know this needs to get done, this needs to get done, and I know how to get it done.
Right.
But what I haven't, you know, and I've gotten better, but maybe I've gotten better, I don't know, is to say, here's why, and here's why we're doing this. Mm-hmm. And really having people see that there is something in it for them. Yeah. It's not like, I want them to do something. That's not what I want. I want them to, like...
It's Simon Sinek, it starts with why.
Right, exactly, start with why.
And that's had such an impact. It's such a simple thing, but it's had a huge impact on the world of work.
Yeah, you know? Why? And I see it when I go back in my career, like I've had managers who said, do this, and I was like, why? And I would do it, and I would just be like resentful or not do it, or...
Yeah. It's all this lazy person's way of looking at the why, you know. We see this with kids as well. We work with a charity called Coder Dojo, where they and this is for me as well, where kids and education. Education can be very wrong in some respects. Yeah, because your kids inside Coder Dojo, learning how to code as a second language, and they become very native in it. Yeah, and they code very different to adults. So they'll do the lazy way. Instead of going A, B, C, D, they'll go A to D as quickly as they can. They'll cut corners, and they'll have cleaner code. So they become very, very native in the language. Yeah, and they're learning how to project manage, which they've never done before. They're learning conflict, learning how to lead. They're learning how much it costs or how it's resourced and stuff like that. So again, you see people going...
Gary was talking about Nucor, and at Nucor, the people who are like blue-collar workers are hiring metallurgists to figure out how to reprocess things. Yeah. And these are the guys that are, because what they did was they said, okay, at these blue collar workers, you know exactly how much money this makes for the company. If you beat that, you will get more money. Yeah. So they gave them the right incentives. Yeah. They gave them the tools. Yeah. And now they're doing it.
Yeah. And that's the diversity you need.
Remember those what was it called? Total quality ownership, like the Toyota thing back in the 80s.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. They had those little work groups. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know how well it worked, but that was the idea of like giving people at the bottom really the power to do things. Yeah. And he was even saying, you should be able to approve your own expense reports. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's important for them to see that. Otherwise, it all ends in tears, no?
Yeah, and I've been using this, I don't know about you, but I've been using the why with my wife. Because often, I'll say...
You're really working hard to keep her happy.
Oh my God. It's my primary secondary job. that when we talk about things, I don't start with the do this or do that. It's like, here, what would you like us, kind of paint the vision. Right. And I find that storytelling is, I'm pretty good at storytelling, but I don't do it enough.
We should bring you to Ireland
You guys are great at storytelling. You know what happened? I kissed the
Shane
Blarney.
and Johnny Campbell, all these guys here.
In '85, I kissed the Blarney.
Yo, real trouble.
Yeah. Have you done that?
No, I haven't done it. The last time I was there, actually, oddly enough, I saw an elderly American woman screaming her head off because she didn't realize what she was doing. And it's quite a drop if you fall.
Yeah. What they do is they have you. It's a castle. You go up to 30 meters up or something like that. You lie on your back. And then you kind of lean out a little bit, and there's nothing there. There's like a little bit of a grate to hold you if you fall, and then you kiss this stone that's up underneath it.
Yeah.
So you're like lying on your back, sticking out over nothing, and then kissing the stone.
Well,
and there's a guy there that's holding you, sort of.
That's it. And I guess the experience alone gets you talking straight away.
Yeah, exactly. So communicating, and what about some structural stuff? I mean, what do you see around the structures that we have that work? What could you point to a really good structure, either organization or government?
I don't know. I mean, companies need to find that for themselves. Just like when they go out doing big data projects, they shouldn't be going out there copying other companies for the sake of it. They should be looking to their own competitive advantages and their people and looking for. I mean, the thing with HR is they're often going looking around for problems. Yeah, HR. They know they have all these solutions in their heads, but they're looking for the same kind of problems to match those solutions. But they might not be the problem of, the leadership team and stuff like that. That's why HR reporting has become so valuable, because the leadership team want data straight away.
Right.
Yeah. If they close down one office or they need a new sales guys in Poland, I know Dell did this years ago when they took people out of Ireland and stuff like that. They needed real data, if they were going to relocate factories across Europe. What were the finances going to be? Where was the talent going to be? Where would it be easier to find talent and stuff like that? So that's the kind of stuff that HR needs to provide.
LinkedIn I just spoke to the gentleman from LinkedIn.
Yeah.
They built a tool where they're going to give that kind of data because they have it on the graph.
Yeah.
So you're going to be able to answer questions like, what's your talent pool look like in a specific area, in a specific job?
Yeah.
And make that available to their customers.
Exactly, but there's things like the Ulrich model out there. Dave's a great guy, but I think for many companies, and he said it himself.
What's the model?
Well, it's the HR business partner model. You've got a whole bunch of HR people out there that call themselves business partners. It's the scariest thing in the world. They're not business partners. Sorry, it's not fair to say that. It's a generalization, but most of them definitely aren't, unfortunately. I remember there's a lot of dangerous stuff that goes on in the world. If where you listen to advice, like Jack Welch used to do it. He used to say HR for stakeholder value. That's the most dangerous thing that was touted out there.
And say why. Say why.
Just it's the wrong reasons, because HR is there to look after people.
Exactly.
That's their job,
Yeah.
So
their jobs are not to.
Their jobs is to keep people happy in the company.
Exactly.
So
and not the bottom line. Mm-hmm. And we have a problem with that in this country, like Americans. We've always, people have said, well, government should run like business.
Yeah.
Because there's an efficiency, but not realizing that the idea of government is not to run like a business.
Yes.
It's to support the people.
That's right.
So if we're supporting the people, then it doesn't matter that it costs a little bit more or took a little longer time.
That's right.
That's its mission. Mm-hmm. And when you're supporting people, it becomes counterproductive to put those kinds of efficiencies, those business efficiencies, which gets back to maybe a conversation around ownership and who's the stakeholder or the stockholder. Like one of the things I love about working at Bowhead is that the people who own our company are native Alaskans.
Yeah.
It's not the stock market, it's not a hedge fund, it's not one person.
Right.
So when we make profit, we're working for them and we're working to keep their culture alive.
Yeah.
Like without us, they wouldn't be able to, have the lives they have in Alaska, in the top most part in Barrow.
Yeah.
And that feels good.
Yeah.
There's a huge intrinsic value to that I think most of the people I work with share.
Agreed.
What do you think people like, when people work at your company, what do you think their vision is?
They're all looking, the guys that are inside our business, and this has been a big question of mine for the last year, they're looking for purpose and meaning. Yeah, that's the bottom line. And they've gone through thick and thin with us over the last few years. The events business is a very stressful business. It's thousands of tasks. If you do anything, it's a human business as well. So, and you're dealing with thousands of people as well. So you can never keep all the people happy,
right?
Unfortunately. So for them, it's what I was saying earlier about wrapping them around the bigger vision for where the business goes. I mean, when we started out, we were a small little, 400 people event, but the people that came to it had such a great experience. And when I talked to some of the speakers not so long ago, they've even given me references for this. When I first called them up, when you gave them the vision of what we wanted to do, actually, it was a bit mad. It was a bit crazy.
And what was
but
the vision?
We did it. Well, it was to create the largest trade show on the future of work in the world, and we've done that. Our Amsterdam show sits in that position.
Yeah.
There is no event in the world that's bigger by enterprise HR leaders, and we get over 100 countries. Getting HR leaders from over 100 countries.
How many people attend the Amsterdam show?
We've 5,000 attendees, which includes the vendors. So that's the full house.
And
that's
one in
the
Vegas
real number.
Was about 2,000.
Sorry?
The Vegas show here?
I think we have about 1,700 here. That's our goal.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry, our goal was to have about 2,000.
Right.
Yeah, but with rebranding and moving the location and stuff like that. But I think we could consider our first show as Unleash. I think that's been a good start for us.
Yeah.
And I'm very confident. We've learned a lot from the industry this year. We don't know America, so we now know that HR leaders have to have it in their diary in December.
Yeah.
Or it's very different to Europe. In Europe, you just get a budget and you spend it how you do, But there's a different procurement process over here. So you kind of get 1 or 2 events.
Right.
Whereas I think Europeans are a bit spoiled. They kind of get to 6 or 7 or 8. So, and you were talking about, so we've just brought someone in from America, our head of marketing, and we were talking about lunchtime and just the workday and stuff like that. Like I had to force her to go for a 1-hour break.
Yeah.
She couldn't get into the European way for a while. It was like a sandwich on the fly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the way we work in Europe, I really appreciate that we do the 8-hour working day. And the same, you're asking about our business as well. We've just redesigned it. So the capability that we now have to scale over the next few years and enjoy the kind of growth that we had in the first 4 or 5 years. Because that's the thing, once you pass 50 employees, as an organization, I think you really need to redesign, because it becomes icky, all that pain of project management and processes and planning and those planning synchronizing together and stuff like that. So yeah, we're busy trying to be, what we put on stage. You'd like to think that we're the same kind of company, but we're not. But we aspire to be a company like that. We want our people to be obviously very happy in their jobs and not stressful and stuff like that.
Nice. So any parting thoughts on your vision for the work world? Anything you want to share with our audience before we wrap up?
The big message from me is, we can't do this on our own. We need to do this through partnerships. So, it's a big shout out to everyone out there whoever wants to get involved. We're in a position now where we really want to kind of, become more of an open community than the closed community we have been over the last 5 years. So it's a big change from our side as well, but very exciting times.
Awesome.
So.
Thank you so much.
You're most
welcome. I really appreciate it, Marc. It was great to talk to you, and I feel inspired that even though this sometimes feels like doom and gloom, that there's this quite a bright hope
there is
shining here.
Yeah, I feel like just like you guys being here today, getting the word out there, we can only do this together.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
exciting
times.
Thanks.
You're most
your
welcome.
host, Lorne Epstein. You've been listening to the Lorne Epstein Show. We were just talking with Marc Coleman from Unleash about the possibility of HR in the workplace and how we can transform this culture. Thanks, and we'll see you next week here on the Lorne Epstein Show.